And let's talk a little bit about kind of this creator economy.
Sure.
It's really interesting to me how it's almost like creators are the new small business, right? And what we're seeing is take the Substack, kind of revolution, if you will. There's a bunch of people leaving, and now they've got this ability to kind of do it, one version of where you really started with like this membership model. Do you see those people trying to build out actual businesses, or is this just a where writers want to get paid to write, right? And what I keep going back to is this idea of is there a separation between kind of people who want to build a business and people who want to just create, or are we going to see kind of the rise of the hybrid, right? The people who want to create things but also have the ambition and the skill set to actually build businesses as like the CEO as well.
Yeah, listen, I think that's sort of the conundrum that I'm in right now, right? It's like I want 2PM to be a media company, not a person. And so I've built strategies around that. With Substack in particular, obviously you're very familiar with it. I think that the vast majority of the top users are individuals. They are building their own creator pipelines. They're not necessarily building media companies. I think it's hard to build a media company on Substack. Obviously, there are a few exceptions, and those exceptions might be growing in the near future. But it's hard. So I think with Casey Newton, for instance, today, right? Like you see him as one heck of a journalist. Like he will make a lot of money as an individual journalist. I think it's different than the alternative, which is I think that I forgot the name, but the group from Deadspin that launched on Substack a few weeks ago. Do you remember the name?
I don't, but I know who you're talking about.
So I think it's 30 of them, and they are. I think they.
Is this Defector?
Yes. So 20,000 something subscriptions, which is insane. So that's sort of the dichotomy right there. There's the individual, and then there's sort of the umbrella where you hear Defector, but you don't know well. I can't name a single journalist that's actually writing for Defector, but it's a very valuable organization that could potentially leave Substack and do its own thing and have just as much success. I think that's the difference, right? Like, can you build an audience? Can you build a structure around employing the right people? And can you port that audience elsewhere on your own URL and with your own design, with your own logo work to build a media company? I think that's sort of like the mark that determines that.
Yeah, and we've obviously seen this before with like the BuzzFeed, and they came out with BuzzFeed products, right, and kind of put it through. And one of my favorite examples, and the name's going to escape me now, but they do the really in-depth product reviews. Like if there's a watch that says, it's 30 meters kind of water resistant, they literally put it on and go 30 meters down in the water and make sure that it does it. But those types of organizations have found multiple ways to monetize. But they have large staffs, right? They're kind of well funded. In this creator economy, we're almost seeing people start businesses from scratch with no funding in most cases. Maybe there's some kind of personal funding that they're putting towards it, but it really does feel like we're getting back to this idea of like the only people who are going to survive and have the option or possibility of thriving are the people who find product market fit, right? Because they're going to use the revenue to basically fuel anything else they want to do. Is that directionally correct, do you think?
It is. I mean, I think there are a number of companies. I'm not trying to sell anyone short because I've seen it happen myself. There are a number of companies that started small and have quite a substantial footprint on the industry. I think an example is probably one of my stops. I mean, Uncreate is probably a great example because, I don't know what the payroll is, but they have no more than 15 people right now. And if you compare them to much, much larger organizations with 60 or even 100 people, the output looks the same. Well, that company started with one person doing one thing, right? And it sort of scaled up from there. So I'm not gonna belittle anyone that starts off as one person because clearly that's the same way that I started. I just know that to build an actual sort of to build brand equity, I think we have to focus more on an inanimate brand and not the person behind it. I think that's the key difference in the creator economy today.